Rivian announced they would be having a free event at the Sonoma Raceway, so of course, as a huge fan of Rivian, I had to check out the vehicles in person for the first time. And I have to say, it was a pretty amazing day. I was there for a couple hours, and the first thing I noticed when I drove in is that Rivian cares about attention to detail, at least with this event in particular, because even the parking pass for me to put in my car was made out of this recyclable paper that you can actually plant under 1/8 inch of soil, and basically it turns into flowers, which like already blew my mind, and I hadn't even seen the vehicles yet. But as soon as I parked in the parking lot, I instantly saw probably about 15 different Rivians. They almost had every single color option available. The only color I didn't quite see was Red Canyon, but we even saw one of the Compass Yellow options. We saw Glacier White. We saw their Forest Green options, and unfortunately, there was a long waiting list for people that are actually able to drive the vehicles, but anyone was able to actually check out the Rivians in person and sit inside of them, although you couldn't quite drive them. I was very impressed from the beginning because I heard music playing throughout this event, and as I got closer and closer to the R1T, I realized all of this music was coming from a Bluetooth speaker that you charge from within the car. It actually sounded way better than I thought for just like a built-in speaker that charges within the center console, which is awesome, by the way. But most of these vehicles were all demoing the extreme practicality that the R1T offered. So I had always seen these images of tents that were kind of right over the bed of the R1T, which I thought looked, you know, kind of interesting, but after finally now climbing in one and laying down in there, it's actually surprisingly roomy, and I could see a ton of people really treating the R1T as just this optimized camping machine. It really is staying true to Rivian's vision of making these adventure vehicles. They're really meant for you to travel to places that are beyond paved roads, and as my friends were pointing out at this event, this would really require fairly little packing when you consider there is a flashlight built into the door, you have a Bluetooth speaker that also doubles as a lantern, and on top of that you can put this very comfortable sized tent over the bed which you can climb into, and outside of those things you basically just need to pack like some food, some sleeping bags, and maybe some firewood, and you're basically good to go. And knowing how the tent will likely fit in the gear tunnel, or you can of course opt for the kitchen set, and now you have your own cooking station as you're going on these off-road trips as well. So it really fits that narrative of these being ultimate adventure vehicles. The quality of them felt amazing, and I think Rivian's done a great job at making their vehicles look iconic and recognizable. Like those headlights are unmistakable. You will not confuse it with any other pickup truck on the road, but simultaneously found a way to match the vibe they were going for at this event, which was sustainability, you know, reusability, and using recycled components as much as possible, but all of their interiors having this really fine wood that's stretched across the top, and everything feels like it complements the outdoors so perfectly. So I think that they have a style that really works well for them and certainly captured the imagination of a lot of people there. It was really fun talking to other people that were just as interested in the Rivian, and I can confidently say looking at it on the website is one thing, but seeing it in person definitely just makes the entire company and the entire product feel much more real. The people who did have reservations and were on the long waiting list were able to drive, of course, their first mile in the R1T, and took it on quite an off-road experience down a very steep hill, and it was shocking to know this 7,000-pound truck was able to steadily creep down the hill, and at a few points even pause and basically just park on the side of this very steep, muddy hillside. And of course, we even saw them accelerate pretty quickly off-road, but I can confidently say it's just like the weirdest thing ever to see trucks like this drive around completely silent. Like, I've gotten used to it with Tesla sedans and crossovers, but now that there's actually decent sized trucks driving around not making any noise, it's pretty impressive. Getting into the car was pretty awesome. I loved the steering wheel design, I loved the display, and the screen actually felt fairly responsive to me, but I'll admit it wasn't exactly perfect. I mean, it is very close to the size of the Toyota Tacoma. In fact, I think it's a tad taller taller, but on the inside it felt a little bit crammed. You know, given the size of the truck, you might have expected it to feel very roomy on the inside. There were several people getting in and out of the R1T at this event, and while I was sitting in the back seat, one guy was like, "How much legroom do you have back there?" And I said, "Oh, I'm good." But then he backed up the driver's seat a bit so that he can be more comfortable, and I really didn't have much legroom. It was a bit crammed. I guess that's what happens when you have several tall people in the back, and of course that fifth seat in the middle is certainly going to be a tad crammed, but I appreciate Rivian's attention to detail with having buttons for opening more things, and I love the fact that there's 6 USB-C ports throughout the interior to charge phones and laptops off of. And yes, of course, the gear tunnel is amazing. Having all of that space and also being able to climb out and stand on that gear tunnel door, which also has storage on the inside of it. On top of that, it's a great way to step up and reach your cargo that you may strap to the top of the R1T. Seriously, like the functionality and the fact that you can stand on those doors is pretty insane. It felt like I wasn't really supposed to be standing on it, but I loved the vibe the employees were giving off, because I brought my dedicated camera to this event and I asked them if it was okay for me to shoot everything, and they were like, "Dude, do whatever you want." They had complimentary drinks and food, of course, which was nice considering it was a free event. But overall, it certainly made me really fall in love with this form factor. As you guys know, I'm not really that big a fan of giant trucks like the F-150, which is likely the same size of the Cybertruck. So to finally see like a more compact size pickup, even if the interior wasn't extremely roomy, made me excited for Rivian's future, and I genuinely can't wait to see these things on the road. I'm glad deliveries have officially begun, and if we were in the market for a pickup truck, I can guarantee you the R1T would be high on my list. And basically the only thing preventing me from ordering one is the existence of the Model Y with its supercharging access and of course its longer range. That and the autonomous driving features of Tesla is probably what's going to prevent me from ordering one, but as someone who does a lot of mountain bike riding and wants to get back into camping more regularly, I could certainly understand why so many people are excited for this truck, because I definitely am, and I highly recommend you guys check one out in person if you ever can. It really is just so much fun to be able to see how deep the frunk space is, how much room they have for the spare tire in the bed, and that gear tunnel really does give them an iconic edge on everybody else. Although in terms of design, like, I think the headlights are great, and I personally prefer the glacier white color out of all of them. I will say they go a little bit heavy on the logos. Like, there's tiny little Rivian logos across everything, and underneath the bed there's like the largest logo I've ever seen on a single vehicle. It's kind of crazy. So I guess they just don't want people to forget what they're looking at whenever they're testing a Rivian. So anyways, I appreciate Rivian very much for having this event, and I hope that more EV brands can do events like this and hopefully actually, you know, take people for rides. I felt like it was kind of a missed opportunity that I couldn't just tag along in the back seat for some of these reservation holders that were able to drive their first mile. You know, I would have shut up and just enjoyed the ride and let them focus on what they need to do, but all in good time. I'm sure I'll be able to drive one in the future. Thank you all for watching. Have an excellent rest of your day. Take care.